So I have a long slideshow, which I thought would be great for a larger group, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. We'll kind of go back to basics on this and say, okay, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is all the tools and actions we take to keep our computers and information safe. Usually from those that don't need to have access to it. Cyber really means the internet. It also means computers or anything that touches the internet. So,
Which is everything.
yes. Nowadays, if you think about it, can a phone be regarded as cyber? It can. A smartphone can be attacked, can be hacked. Televisions. If you have a smart TV, they can still be hacked. Alarm systems. How many of us have alarm systems that notify us on our phones or let us arm and disarm on our phones? Those can also be hacked. Now, there's not a large number of issues with that going on right now, but it's still out there. Cyber threats, the why, the what, and the who. So why do people do this? So why? We rely on our computers every day. That's the main thing that we use to communicate. Letters have gone away. Writing out a letter, putting it in an envelope, putting a stamp on it, and mailing it has gone. For the younger folk, I should say. And those millennials coming through now, and your grandkids, and my kids, if I set my daughter down right now to write a letter, even to write a letter to Santa, she'd want to know if she could do it on her iPad. Yeah, everything's electronic. So some myths about cybersecurity. If you didn't put your information online, you're untraceable and therefore safe from intrusion. That's absolutely incorrect. Even if you don't have a Facebook account, even if you don't have an email account, even if you don't do online banking or online shopping, the government has information on you, credit card companies have information on you, there's lots of organizations that have information on you, and everyone is moving more and more information to the internet. They're moving it to private cloud or private internet hosted servers, or they have to publish some information as part of the Public Information Request or Public Information Act. The other common myth is that if you post anything online, it's only shared with your family and friends. How many of you knew that when Facebook first came out, it was actually open to anybody to see your posts unless you went in and modified the security? A few years ago they changed that, so now you have to go in and modify the security to allow people to see your information. But before, when it first came out, anybody and everybody could see your information. At that point, there were a lot of news reports and articles out there saying, if you post on Facebook or MySpace, as the first iteration of Facebook was called, that you're going on vacation, or hey, look at me, I'm on vacation, and they know you and they know where you live, people were getting burgled every day due to them posting on those apps. So more and more companies are now starting to become smarter and change the way they do apply security, so it's more secure and then you can reduce the security. But in the early stages, it was wide open. So, oh, and by the way, anything you put on the internet, even if you delete it, it's there forever. It does not go away. Even if you disable your account, the information is there somewhere. So the top reasons people attack other people. Obviously money. Revenge. Just for fun. There are some people out there that just do this for fun. Fame and political gain. This is the cost of cybercrime. 140 to 175 billion dollars a year. That's just for the US. That's what it costs us in cybercrime. Around the world, it's 445 to 608 billion dollars a year. That's a large amount of money. It's very profitable, as you can see. Maybe I should have learned how to hack, because I'd be making a lot more money now.
A wirehat.
Yeah. The what? This is what causes, this is how you get attacked. Through ransomware, social engineering, smishing, that's SMS text messages that cause you to send a response back. Vishing. How many of you had a phone call saying that your vehicle warranty has expired and they'd like you to buy a new warranty? I get that three or four times a week on my work phone. I tend to have fun with them. I stay on the line, I talk to them, I say, okay, so you've reached me on my work phone. I have 50 Tahoes, I have 6 fire trucks, 3 ambulances. Can you tell me which one of those vehicles is out of warranty? Well, can you give me the registration? No, well, the dealer gave you my information, correct? Yes, well, you should have that information. Yeah, and the longer I stay on with them, the more frustrated they get, and they just hang up. Especially like the ones from Microsoft saying that they found something on my laptop. I try and talk to them. Usually say, well, I'm on my Apple Mac. Which button do I press? Because Apple is not a Microsoft device. So, yeah, they don't catch on for about 15 minutes. Then they finally get tired of me. Adware. In certain scenarios, when you're browsing through the internet and you're looking at web pages, you'll see these little adverts on the sides. Some of those can contain malicious information. Obviously, viruses. Hope everyone got their flu shot. So, but viruses is the most common threat. You're seeing that every day. That's been around for, I've been in the industry about 25 years. It's been around for about 21 of those. Phishing, spear phishing, malware. Phishing are those emails that come out that say, we're with Bank of America. Oh, spyware. This is a phishing attack. So this is a phishing attack. You might receive something from Bank of America that looks very authentic, suspicious activities on your account. You go through, you click on it. It may or may not ask you for your username and password to your account. This goes out to several hundred email accounts at a time. Spear phishing is isolated, it goes just to you. It's targeting you. It looks very real. You can click on that and then end up with this. And at this point now you've got to call someone and they try and walk you through. Although 9 out of 9, I've found, I wouldn't say 9 times out of 10, about 50% of the time, when very early on, when this was very, very common, I didn't click on a phishing email, I clicked on something else, and all of a sudden I got all these screens. I was able to turn my machine off, power it back on, and it was just, it was fine. Nowadays they've become more and more sophisticated, so at this point you may not be able to just turn it off and on. Malware is the #1 cause of online compromised information. What is malware? And how does it affect us? This is malware. So any one of these can be considered malware. Social engineering. Something people don't talk about a lot. Social engineering is, I don't have it in my pocket, I have one. Have a thumb drive, drop it in the street. That thumb drive contains a virus, but nobody else knows about it. I do. You finally go, oh, it's a 16 gig thumb drive. You put it into your machine. The minute you put it into your machine, it's now infected your machine. That's a part of social engineering. Or I come into an office building, dressed like a UPS person, or as a consultant, and say, go to reception. Hi, I'm a consultant with the IT department, and they told me just to meet them up there. I got there and managed to make my way into an IT department, or managed to make my way into your home somehow as a repairman, or someone that you've not asked to be there. That's social engineering, a way of working with you to get your information, or get access to your information. Physical threats. Dumpster diving still there. Very early on, and this was before everyone really had access to the internet, I had my bank account compromised. The mistake we made at home was we did not shred our checkbooks. Our old checks we did not shred. Somebody went through the dumpster, found the old checks, put them back together. We ripped them up, but we didn't shred them. Put the numbers back together and compromised my bank account. That still happens. So, shredding your sensitive documents is the best way to go. Shoulder surfing. If you're sitting somewhere and you're typing your password into a machine, and I'm standing right behind you, I'm looking at your username. I'm seeing what you're typing. I've now got your username and your password. I didn't have to do anything. I just stood there and looked over your shoulder. That's shoulder surfing. So the Who. And it's not the English rock band from the 60s. Bad actors, hackers. Surprised how many teenagers do this. Opportunists. Again, I'm standing there, I see you type your username and password in. Why not? Ethical hackers. Now, ethical hackers, I put them up there. The reason I put them up there, there's a difference, if you're not aware, between hackers and ethical hackers. Ethical hackers usually get paid by an organization like us to hack us, to attempt an attack against our networks. The reason we ask them to do that is to show us where we're vulnerable. And then we go in and fix those vulnerabilities. Now, there's ethical hackers that do this with all kinds of software. They do it with your Windows software, they do it with your banking software and things like that. They will tell people like Microsoft or Adobe or others, hey, we found this issue with your software. They will give them, I think it's maybe between a month and 3 months to fix that issue. If it's not fixed, they actually release that information to the public. It's still ethical for them to do that because now what they're saying is that we are warning you, the public, that there's this issue with your software. But they give the manufacturer time to fix it. That's why with Microsoft you have Patch Tuesday. Every Tuesday, first or second Tuesday? Second Tuesday of every month, Microsoft releases new patches. Not because there's a new virus coming out, because they found a bug in their software. And Windows has so many lines of code, it's difficult to catch the first time out. Governments. Not the city of Hurst, we do not hack. I just want to my boss later. But federal governments, the US, England, India, China, Russia, the Ukraine, all big governments will do some form of hacking, some form of cyber attack, usually for political gain. That's all they're trying to do. Then, of course, within most of these countries, you've got, I don't think it's called the KGB anymore, but you have the KGB, you've got MI5, you've got the CIA. They're also doing it to collect, to find, and gather secrets. And activist groups. This is a very small minority here, but they still are trying to get political information. Again, it's all for political gain. So that covers the who, the why, the what. Now, years ago when we first started this program, we talked to people about passwords, and one of the things that we said was, minimum, you should have a minimum of eight characters. You should have an uppercase character. You should have a special character, and at least one number. Well, those numbers have changed. And they will continue to change as computers get faster and as people get more and more determined. Now, so in this little piece, we're going to cover how safe is your password, password creation guidelines, password management software, two-factor authentication, and some steps to take after you've had an account breach. So, obviously, things that you should not use for your password: birthdays, names, dictionary words, phone numbers. Please never ever use a social security number or any sequential number. Names of movies, TV shows, famous songs, and dialogues. Those are all considered dictionary words. There's online dictionaries that they can utilize to run through all these words very, very quickly. Hope everyone can see that. As you can see, if your password is 6 characters long, it will take someone about 3 minutes to hack your password. If it's 8 characters long, 3 weeks. So the old policies were minimum of 8 characters, and you change your password every 90 days. Well, if we change our password every 90 days, you can see someone can hack it within 3 weeks. So within a month, that password's been hacked, possibly. Now they're going from, and 10 is even low nowadays. Now they say 12 to 16. So as you can see from this, the word Psychopath, just as it is, 56 seconds. Psychopath with 2 uppercase characters, 8 hours. And we go all the way down to Psychopath with changing out the E for a 3 and a hash, an @ symbol. And it becomes more and more complicated. It's 530 years. I found this page very interesting. How many of us have just one password? We have multiple passwords on multiple systems across the board. If you're using the same password for every application, that's not a good thing, because once they find it, they have access to everything. But you could use the beginning of your first password and then add something like GMA for Gmail or FAC for Facebook. So I ran this yesterday against a password cracker, and it took 13.61 seconds for that first piece of the password. That's how long it would have taken to crack. I then ran Ronald $23 GMA with no space in there, and I think it went to about 8 hours. I added the space, and it went to 4 years. So just by adding one space, it took it from an 8-hour crackable password to a password that would last 4 years. would last 4 years. It would take 4 years for someone to crack.
I mean, just a space, nothing on it?
Nothing. So as you can see, it says Ronald, exclamation, $23, and then there's a space in between there, and then GMA. That little space in there made that password, so it would take 4 years for it to crack.
I have a question on financial, like say they try to hack a bank, do they have safeguards for the bank where they can't get any information?
It depends how far they penetrate. So if they use your password to get into the bank, they only have access to your information, your accounts.
But if they have mine, they can get into my bank account.
Yes.
But the bank don't have any safety that,
Because they're relying on you to create a password. Unfortunately, that's how they claim that liability. Now, will they work with you to try and retrieve that money? Yes. And FDA insurance, I'm not sure if that covers it. I'm not 100% on what the FDA insurance will cover. For example, I know when you have your debit card stolen, anything that's taken out, I think they will reimburse you for because it's theft. But as far as how it works with a bank account online, I'm not sure. So, question. I've written 2 passwords out there, My Blue Lagoon 2 and Blue Ridge 3. How long would you think that it would take to crack My Blue Lagoon 2? What about Blue Ridge 3? Sorry? 4 minute? My Blue Lagoon 2, 4,000 years. So that shows the new standards of passwords. They're moving away from, like I said, dictionary words to phrases, passphrases. You can have a picture of a blue lagoon sitting on your wall, and your password can be My Blue Lagoon, and you say, well, what was my password? Oh, My Blue Lagoon. Nobody else is going to know that.
how do you have all these passwords, you can't possibly remember them all. How do you store something like that so you can find it if you want?
So we'll cover the storage of password vaults here in a second, but one of the things that we had on the previous slide was, for example, there you have My Blue Lagoon 2, and if you were to have, say it was your Gmail account, your email account, you could leave a space and put GMA for Gmail. If it was Facebook, use the same password but put space with FAC for Facebook. So that way your first part of your password is exactly the same, and the second piece indicates what application you're using.
What's the advantage of giving them the first 3 letters? I mean, I'm sure they know that too.
They're not going to necessarily realize that's what you're doing.
They can get into all this other stuff, why wouldn't they realize that?
Because it's not a common, so we're not using Gmail. If you were to put Gmail at the end of your password, that's a common name. GMA, you could use GAM, you could, anything that reminds you of, okay, this is for my email application, or this is for my Facebook. So it doesn't necessarily have to be FAC, that's just an example. It could be FB, just 2 characters. It could be GM. GM could be General Motors, it could be Gmail, it could be...
This is on the end of your password?
At the end of your password. So that does 2 things. It extends the number of characters, therefore extending how long it takes for them to crack it, because now you've got 2 more characters to crack. And it helps you remember which application you're using. And this one actually took 7.53 minutes. So these comments came out of a 2016 Pew Research survey for adults 55 and older. I only changed my password for accounts at companies where the breaches occurred. I never log into my online accounts, so I'm safe. It's too much to remember new passwords. I've had the same password for years, it's secure enough. And I only change my password if it's required. We should be changing our password often, very often. Because you've not been hacked, because you've not had a breach, doesn't mean that someone's still not trying to get to it. I'm not trying to scare everyone. There's several billion people in the world. We're most probably the small fish in the pond right now. But at some point, someone's going to take advantage of us. We should make our passwords at least 10 characters, preferably 12 to 16. Make it complex, make it easy for you to remember. Use a passphrase. Make it unique. Don't use family pet names, family names, names of your grandchildren, things like that. And use a different password for every account. And that's what I was saying. If you do something at the end of your password to help you remember which account it's with, it'll be unique for each one of those accounts. And then change your password. In the office environments, most people have to change their passwords every 90 days. Our users change them every 90 days, and we get complaints a lot. Why do I have to change my password? Well, you're in an environment where people want that information you have. Here it says 6 to 12 months. I think that's a good guideline. Change your password between 6 to 12 months. 90 days is a lot. You know, that's a lot of passwords to remember every year. That's changing it once to twice a year. That's good.
Do you have to change it a lot?
In the office?
No, the password. Like you have to have completely all different passwords? Or part of it passed?
Ideally, yes. I would recommend changing it completely. Just because people know that, you know, they can add a 1 or a 2 or a 3 to the end of it, and eventually they'll get someone's password because, you know, I may have Blue Lagoon 2 this month and Blue Lagoon 3 the following month. So what's changed? Well, the character at the end, and that's just sequential. And that's why they're moving to passphrases, because with passphrases you can look around your home, you can look around your environment and make something out of it. I think one of the ones here was, where's the beef? And what they did was they used the first 2 characters and they said D with an @ symbol and put the 3's in place of the E's. Now, that's a very, very short password. I wouldn't recommend using it, but something that you may be familiar with, you can do that. Password management systems. This is where, going back to the question you asked me, there are password vaults out there. We call them password vaults. If you have antivirus software, which you should on your machine, most of them now come with password vaults. It allows you to store your passwords for different applications in this vault. It will then change that password for you when it comes time to change it. The good thing about that is you no longer have to worry about remembering the passwords. The bad thing about that is now there's only one password needed to access all your passwords. So if the password that's needed to get into your password vault is weak, someone has access to all your passwords. You also have to be careful that some programs will only let you use it on your computer. A lot have changed now, but if you use your phone to access any secure data, then you want to be able to carry that password vault with you so you can access whatever you need to access. If it's on your computer at home and it generates a random password, you're never going to be able to get into your account outside of your home PC. So I would look at password vaults that allow you to carry a mobile application and allows you to back it up to a secure cloud that the manufacturer has that only you can get into.
How do you get into a password vault?
So a password vault is like a little program that runs, and what it does is it stores your passwords. It's just a program that stores passwords. It then asks you for a username and password to get into that vault. That then can be backed up to a secure, encrypted server on the internet. And when it does encryption, there's a public and a private key. So the public key goes to the hosted site on the internet, and you maintain the private key. So without that encryption key and without your username and password, no one can actually access that data. So you'd then be able to access that information from a new computer if you wanted to, and get that password vault information.
What I was asking though, how do you put it into the computer or find that?
That program?
Yeah.
Most of the antivirus programs that you can buy now commercially, McAfee, Trend Micro, they all have antivirus as a offering. Then within that antivirus, they'll have web browser protection, and they'll have password vault protection. So once you install the program, the antivirus program, and you open their control panel, it'll show password vault. So, and it'll do the password management. But you have to turn it on if you want to do that. But that's just one method. Another method that most people are moving to now is two-factor authentication. This is, in my opinion, I like this better than the password vault, although the password vault does allow you to auto-generate passwords. This one, you have your password, you've opted in for a second form of authentication. I have a Gmail account, and I've opted in for their second form of authentication. What it does is when I first log in, it'll ask me for a code. On my phone, I have a code generator. They walk you through how to install all this. And I have a code generator. It's a random 6-digit code. It changes every minute. I put my username, password, and then I've got to go to my code generator, find the code, and type it in. And then it allows me to access into my email. So without having that second form of authentication, no one can access your email. And that code generator is unique to your device and to your account. And because it changes every minute, it's very unlikely for someone to grab that information. Another way, on another application, it sends me a message, a text message that says, are you trying to log into your email from this location? Because every computer can be tracked and traced. So it knows roughly which location you're at and says, are you trying to log into your email from this location? Press yes if you are, or no if you're not. Oh yeah, it's me. Yes. I'm in. No, I can't get in. And then you'll get another notification saying your email account was someone attempted to hack into your email account. Please change it. Also, it can also send you a pin like that through text message. What to do if your account's been hacked? Change your password. Very first thing. If you have not been informed that your account has been hacked, but you feel that your account has been hacked, you can notify the service. You can notify Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, etc., letting them know that you feel that your email has been hacked. Usually you know that by multiple people in your contacts being notified or receiving an email from you that you did not send. And also make sure that your other accounts are secure. But if you're changing your password on a regular basis, if you're using two-factor authentication where it's available, that will help prevent a lot of this. So again, just a quick review on the passwords, 10+ characters. Use a passphrase. Make sure you're monitoring your accounts. A password vault, password management system can be a good way to store your passwords, but sometimes it can be very complicated to use. Two-factor authentication, I feel, is much easier to use. It can start off being a pain because now you've got to find your phone or you've got to find the text message and put that PIN in. But once you get used to it, it becomes second nature. Some of these applications also notify you if it doesn't recognize the device you're logging in from. So we have a family account, email account with my son, myself, my wife, and my daughter. It recognizes my computer, it recognizes my wife's computer. Well, she uses my computer, but it recognizes our computer. But when my son's at college and he signs into it from a public computer, I get a notification saying, hey, your computer, your account has been signed in by this location, or by this, at this location. I then look at that location. Okay, it's University of Texas at Dallas, it's my son. Okay, I'm fine with that. If it came up saying it was in England, I'd be like, that's not me. Change your passwords every 6 to 12 months. Use different passwords for different accounts. So, that's all I have this morning. Kind of go into a question and answer session.
Okay, one more.
Yeah.
Say I'm mostly concerned about financial.
Mm-hmm.
Say you're, say making a deposit or whatever into your account. Rather than doing that, can you just call and will that be safe?
When you say making a deposit?
Well, say I want to, every month, say I want to do something financial with my account. Say, make a addition or subtraction out of the account. Rather than doing it via the internet, can I just call them? Will that be safe?
I don't think they'll allow you to do it via phone call.
Well, like when I pay my account, I used to always pay it on the internet.
Okay.
But I got scared about doing that, so I just call them on their number that's on the back of the card.
Oh, so if you're paying a credit card or something like that, as opposed to your specific bank account. Yeah.
Is that safe doing it that way?
It's safer to a certain extent because you also have to bring back the subject matter earlier, which was social engineering. You're calling the right number. You're giving them your information. They're looking it up. You are now relying on that person at the end of the phone not to write that down. So let me take that and kind of put it into a different example. You go to a restaurant. You receive your check. Place your credit card in there. The waiter goes to the register. swipes it into a different reader. He stores that information about your credit card. You sign, you leave. He then sells or uses that information. We hope, and 99.9% of people in the world are honest. That 0.1% causes a lot of these issues. You know, generally, when you call a company and pay your credit card over the phone, or pay a bill over the phone using your credit card, it's going to be safe. There is that percentage where something may happen. So I'm not saying it's wrong to do that. I'm not saying it's not safe to do that. But we have to be vigilant. We have to, as an individual, keep an eye on what's going on. Does that?
Well, you gotta have some way of doing it.
Right.
So,
You know,
other than going there personally, and, that's kind of inconvenient.
it's just like the internet. Paying online is safe if you make sure that when you go to the website it says HTTPS at the top. It's got a little padlock. I think Google Chrome and Firefox and even Microsoft Edge now have a green indicator at the top, indicating it's a safe site, an encrypted site. So long as your as long as your password is secure, then you're secure. Because it's up to so we take online payments for water bills, we take online payments for several other items. It's our duty as a city to ensure that when you log in, that your transaction is secure. What we have no control over is your password. Just like with any entity. They do not have control over your password. So it is secure when you're doing your transaction. But you also have to be vigilant to ensure that you're going to the right sites. You've made sure that it's secure, HTTPS, and you're not linking to it from an email that came to you. So, Old Navy, I'll use that as an example. When we pay our bill for Old Navy, we may go online. Instead of linking through an email, even though I know that Old Navy sent me the email to the payment site, I'll go independently and find that payment site and go to it that way. So, online payments are secure. Paying by phone is just as secure, but we still have to be vigilant. A lot of this is just preying on human nature, unfortunately. No one's really out to get you as an individual. It's an opportunity. Most people are after big entities. They're after governments. They're after big corporations. I'm not sure if you heard recently, I think it was last month or the month before, 22 cities in Texas were attacked by ransomware. Now, the cities were not individually attacked. They got in through another piece of software. Recently on the news, I think it was Carrollton had an issue. So, as you can see, hackers aren't trying to go after the individual. They're mainly trying to go after large organizations. One city in Florida was attacked by ransomware. They paid, I think it was almost $400,000 to get the information back. It's anonymous. It's Bitcoin, electronic currency. I don't understand the Bitcoin area either, so but electronic currency, untraceable.
smartest way to pay your bills? For example, now, when I pay my water bill, I go through my credit union
Okay.
to pay my water bill. Or would it be better for me to go to the city of Hurst and pay it directly? Does it matter what we do?
I do a lot of exactly what you're doing, which is I will go to my bank and I will set up my payees, and then I will go through my online bank and have the bank pay directly to the bank. Because what they're doing is with that kind of transaction, it's a bank-to-bank transaction, as opposed to a check. Well, sometimes they still write a check, but usually nowadays it's more of an electronic funds transfer. So that is a safe way to do it.
See, it's quicker for me, but I thought maybe I'm making a mistake, rather, because it'd take me forever to pay
Right.
each one of my individual bills that way, so I just have mine set up. Each month as I get my bills, I just go in and pay them through my credit union. But I thought, am I making a mistake? I don't, we don't know.
No, you're not making a mistake.
Okay.
Well, can you set up like, say your water bill, whatever bills you got,
Mhm.
set up with an automatic payment? Because I got a lot of them that way, just automatic. Is that safe?
Yeah. Again, it's all bank driven. So, yeah.
I've heard that, I pay my bills the same way the lady does, except for my credit cards, like a MasterCard. I will go directly to that because you don't have to put your account number on it. Because, someone told me that was more secure to go to the website for like the MasterCard through that bank, as opposed to going to your bank and then you have to put in your whole account number.
Which is,
Of course, I know it's all electronic now, but
Yeah.
still, that was,
I pay my credit cards through the bank.
you do it through your bank.
I do it through the bank. When you go through, and again, there's no right or wrong here, it's just a different way of doing things. If you go to, let's say you've got a Citibank credit card,
Right.
so you go to Citibank's site,
Mhm.
yes, you're not putting your credit card information.
But they still have it.
Well, the Citibank obviously still has
Yes.
it, but what are you putting in? Because you've got to pay that bill.
Well, I can pull up the billing itself or the statement and pay against that statement.
But how do you pay against that statement? Because you're not using cash on your
I'm
computer.
I'm putting in my account number.
So you're putting in your bank
No,
account?
but I'm talking about going to my bank and putting in the account number for my Citibank card.
Right.
But it's still, yeah.
What I'm saying is,
It's still-
you're going to the credit card company and putting in your bank account
True.
information.
But you have to do that if you go to the city of Hurst, if you go to
Yeah.
all of the different.
Exactly. So either way, you're putting some form of account
True.
information in.
Okay.
Sometimes it may be easier to put your credit card information in another bank because you can cancel your credit card,
Mhm.
which is a lot easier than canceling your bank accounts.
Right. Well, it's okay if you have the credit card with your bank, but if your card is with a different company.
You can. I mean, I use my bank for all my credit.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So it's kind of either way.
Either way, yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Is it safer to use if you're doing transactions on your phone or?
I use both. The one thing I do is I do not use public Wi-Fi on my phone when I'm doing those transactions. I use my cellular data service. It's less likely to be hacked than public Wi-Fi. Your computer, obviously, please make sure you have antivirus and it's up to date and you're installing all the latest patches. That your Wi-Fi connection at home is secure. That you have to have a password to access your Wi-Fi. Once all that's secure, then your computer's just as secure. But if you don't have antivirus programs, or malware programs, or if you're just using free Wi-Fi to do your payments, I wouldn't recommend that at all.
How about different computers, like Windows or, can't think of the other one.
Apple?
Apple.
I don't know if it's the case anymore. There used to be a time when Apple was more secure.
I was gonna ask about that, because I have a Mac, I've had one for years.
Yep.
Basically because my grandchildren kept getting viruses on my PC, so I just said enough of that. And I went to a Mac, and of course, my grandchildren grew up too, so I don't know if it really helped that much or not.
So, I don't want to get into which one's safer. I think it's changing. I think back in the day there used to be less attacks on Apple because it was just a very small percentage of people had that. That percentage has increased over the years. My recommendation is still, even if you have an Apple, put an antivirus program on there.
And we learned a lot, by the way. I want to comment on this because a lot of the things you've told us, we have senior citizens, and we have a lady who teaches an iPad and iPhone class, and that is excellent. And you can really reinforce a lot of the things that she's told us. So, I mean, because we don't know. I mean, we're from a generation that, you know.
We're still afraid of the technology.
Yeah, eventually the technology is going to be everywhere, and that's all we're going to be able to use. You know, like I said, our grandkids, our kids, they're going to grow up in an environment where it's all electronic. You know, there's been a shift to a certain extent in libraries. Books, old-fashioned books are still there, but there's a lot of people still wanting electronic books now. They want them on their Kindles when they're on vacation so they can read. Nobody wants to come in and mail a check or pay at the counter for a water. They won't be able to do it online. They want to be able to get their permits online. But going to an online environment, everything's going to be online, more than it is today.
Say you go online one time, that's the only time you use it. Does that leave it open, forever? If you use it privately on your own after that, are you still, all the stuff, information is still out there?
If you go onto the internet at any point and do and open an account, something like that, the information's out there. It will stay out there. So, for example, I had a family member who passed away a few years ago. He had a Facebook account. The Facebook account is still up to this day.
Yes, you cancel it.
You can, but it's almost like an act of Congress. It's almost like an act of Congress. Because if I go through and say, okay, I go to Facebook and say, okay, I'd like to close Mr. Kitchens' account. Well, I have no relationship to him. So if he hasn't put me down in his account as the person that has authority to close his account, his account will stay open. Unless you prove to Facebook, this person's passed away, here's a death certificate, here's this, here's that.
Sometimes I don't think we have control over our lines anymore.
We don't.
That is sad. It's too scary to me.
Any other questions?
At the beginning, you showed where they'd gotten into an account, and, froze the computer. And I've always heard that the S is on to show that it's a secure site, but it had an S on it, so that's not always true.
So what this one was doing is it has the S on it for secure. And what this actually did was it went to a file to download to the machine automatically. So it's secure, but it's a file that's downloading. So that's what caused the virus. So what caused this was not the site itself, but the fact that it downloaded something automatically. So paying attention to this bit here is important. So it says HTTPS, which means it is secure. Bank of America is the regular bank site. What follows here are different layers of pages. So what they've done in this is it looks like it's secure, but if you hover your mouse on top of it, it may not actually be going to that location.
Okay, well, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
This is so informative, but so scary. I just too old for this stuff. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.